20 years ago, or 20 iterations ago, we were out here looking at a packed pit lane, getting ready to go qualifying. And here for the 20th running of Petit Le Mans, we have 4 classes, 4 poles, and we'll find out who sits on them for the 2017 Motul Petit Le Mans in a few moments' time. We're live from trackside here at Road Atlanta on IMSA TV and IMSA Radio. Hello everybody and welcome along to our live coverage of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship of 2017. We're ready to go qualifying and it's the usual format, 15-minute quick-fire sessions, beautiful afternoon, temperatures climbing in the booth alongside Jeremy Shaw and me, John Hindhaugh. Once again we welcome Lena Gade on duty with Radio Shaw Limited Network this weekend. Welcome back. Hello. Qualifying, did you like it or loathe it?
Ooh. I used to always take the attitude, and this was WEC related, that I wasn't so bothered about it because it was
tending to be long races.
Yeah.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was always nice to beat the sister car, but
see, if I stay quiet long enough, I'll get a nugget from you.
It was important when we could get the points. There was a point during the WEC season where the Audi did struggle over the one lap in order to get that point. So it was more about setting everything up for the race, and I had to talk to all three to tell them that's what we were going for.
Let's go down and pick up some driver comment ahead of the qualifying session. We'll start with GT Daytona. Brian Sellers, local driver, local team, the 48 Lamborghini, Paul Miller Racing, and he'll talk to Jim Roller for this, our first Continental Tire pit lane report of this session.
When I saw you last, Brian Sellers, you had probably the most disgusted look I've seen on your face in a long time. You just kind of looked at me, shook your head, and headed forward towards the truck. Have you found something in the 48 that you guys can use in qualifying?
Yeah, yeah. Last night was rough. We weren't very happy with where we were at. The car was hard to drive, and when you start running in the night around here, that's the last thing you want. But our guys are good and they're resilient, and we stayed last night, went through a lot of stuff, reviewed a lot of notes, and I think we're much better this morning. So, you know, we'll see where everyone stacks up in qualifying, but the main thing for us was just improve the balance and improve the drivability over the course of a run, and I feel like we did that this morning. So the speed is almost secondary at this point.
And qualifying really in a 10-hour race, how important is it really?
It's not. It is just in terms of seeing where you stack up against everybody else and seeing, you know, if you need to start risking a little bit more balance and going for speed. But in terms of what it actually means at the end, it's truly very little. Having said that, you'd way rather start at the front than the back.
Well, further down pit lane, Shea Adam, our other Continental Tire pit lane reporter, is with our champions-elect. That's the number 63, AF Corsa Ferrari. Shea?
It is so perfect to have this opportunity because I never talk to Balzan without Christina, knowing that it's been bad luck in the past, so I get to talk to both of you at the same time. Champions-elect, you guys are going into this race, you're feeling good. You put Chrisoni in the car for qualifying. How comfortable did you feel with that?
Good. I mean, Chrisoni's done an excellent job. Matteo has been a very solid co-driver to have all year. But, you know, of course, I'm a little bit sad to not be doing the last qualifying of the season. But, you know, it's whatever strategy the team comes up with, we'll join.
The door has been closed behind us, which means it's almost go time. Alessandro, you know this feeling very well, watching a co-driver go out for qualifying. But Christina's new to it. How are you going to keep her calm through this session?
Oh, Matteo, honestly, has shown us speed from yesterday. He's doing an amazing job. He did an amazing job all season long. A great effort from him and Scuderia Corsa. The reason we also are winning and doing great on the championship is also for him. So I wish him the best luck. And qualifying is not our first target, but we really want to be in a good spot for tomorrow night.
Enjoy the session.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very interesting strategy because generally speaking, when in the Pro-Am classes, PC and GT Daytona, you want the Am driver, or the silver driver in this case, Christina Nielsen it is, because Madej is a probably at least a gold, if not probably a gold-rated driver. You want to get their drivers in out of the way so you can not worry about that driver time and then concentrate on the pros for the final part of the race. That's the way the strategies generally play out in GT Daytona. So I'm a little bit surprised by that, particularly, you know, Christina qualified 4th here last year as well, so kind of interesting.
Putting my team manager's hat on, how many hats? I would say they're giving Matteo Cressoni extra track time in the car. Regardless of where he qualifies, you could still start Christina and take the penalty and start at the back of you.
No, I don't think they'll do that. Well, I'd be very surprised if they did that. But you know, he's certainly got a very good chance of starting up at the front and then hand it over to Christina fairly early in the race. And if she's up front when she gets out there, you know she can do an excellent job.
The other thing is, if Cressoni actually is a silver, then it doesn't matter which one of them does the time, does it? It's then only about getting minimum drive time in, and I'm not sure whether Cressoni's a gold or a silver. You never had to worry about all of that sort of stuff, minimum drive time and all that sort of things. That's just one thing you didn't have to worry about, but you had plenty of other stuff to worry about.
Yeah, it adds a whole new dimension having to swap your drivers in and out. In some ways it is a little bit similar when you've got 3 drivers in the car. Sometimes one of them's having a phenomenal weekend. You might want to keep him in the car for a bit longer. Sometimes there's someone else struggling. You might need to take them out, give them a bit of a break till put them back in.
One of the things I meant to ask you before we didn't get time to do it, you, generally speaking, had a car that had a 3-driver team.
Yeah.
And so you had 3 drivers. What we see here quite often is a 2-driver team for most of the year, and then for the longer races, the 24, the 12 and this 10, you add a 3rd person into it. How disruptive can that be?
It's not disruptive if you approach it with the mindset that that driver coming in has got to learn from nothing to everything. And so you put the time and effort into giving them seat time, as much information as possible, getting them bonded with the other 2 drivers is really essential, that the 3 of them are thinking along the same lines. It adds another dimension. I wouldn't say it's a big disadvantage unless you've got 3 that will fall out.
But and presumably, though, you still have to manage that as the person looking after the team.
Yeah, it's in your interest as a race engineer to provide performance for that car, irrespective of who's in it. So you need to make sure.
So the driver's just another component?
Yeah.
Do you have to be as cold as that?
Yes. You have to have some level of empathy with them, because everyone can have a bad day, and you know that goes for mechanics and engineers as well. So you do have to put into perspective where they're at, if they are really having issues with car balance, with setup, with traffic, overtaking, driving at night. You do have to put that into perspective and put yourself in their shoes to understand what it is that they're saying. But you still need to look at it as, I've got 3 drivers to put in my car and I've got to get the best performance.
Just in case you weren't sure, that is the voice of multiple Le Mans winning race engineer Lena Gade, working with Bentley on the GT3 programme, and here working for us this weekend on the Radio Show Limited Network here on IMSA Radio. We thank her for her time. Cars are out on the track. This 15-minute session goes by very quickly. No time to make massive changes. Cressoni, first man out, and first man with a marker down, a 26.3. That will not be good enough, as I'll give you some of the other drivers. Cooper McNeil, the Porsche finds some time. Finally, this is a car that's been struggling. 126.6 for that car. In second place, T-Bell, Townsend Bell in the Audi number 23. Michael Christensen in the 28 Allegra Porsche. Andy Lally in the 93 Acura. Andrew Davis in the 57 Stevenson Audi for its last qualifying session in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. John Bennett for the Core Autosport 54 Porsche. Ben Keating for the Mercedes number 33, the MG. Then it's Sage Karam and Jack Hawksworth, respectively, in the 14 and 15 Lexus. Air Moule, Jerome Moule in the 16 change Lamborghini. Somebody's just jumped up there. Oz Negri is in the 86 car. Patrick Lindsay in the 73, Jesse Krohn in the 96 BMW, and I've missed someone out. That was Dion von Moltke. Dion's getting to qualify. Excellent. The Mercedes number 75. And let me see. And Van der Linde has gone out in the Motorplast and Land car as well. That's a big vote of confidence for that young driver as well in that car, as the young South African drafted into that squad. Sheldon van der Linde has been given the qualifying jobs. I think that's everybody in there. Did I mention the 23 cars? That goes past us. Yes, that's Townsend Bell in that car. Jeremy.
Yeah, tremendously accomplished family of racers from South Africa, the Van der Linders. He's the younger brother of Kelvin, who's also been driving for Audi in the UK, I think, in Europe. His uncle Etienne has won a lot of championships in South Africa. His father Sean also, and grandfather Henny van der Linde, but going way back as well. So yeah,
it's in the blood.
It's absolutely in the blood. Tremendous scene. This is his first race in North America, and he's done an excellent job. I mean, he's been super quick in that car. He's turned a 120.5, which for the first time here is mighty impressive. The fastest car, fastest time by anybody is his teammate Conor Filippi as a 20.1. I lie, because Jack Hawksworth did a 20 flat last night.
And what is the qualifying record here for GT Daytona, Jeremy? As we wait for the Lexus, for the Acura to come round, the 93 car goes through. Andy Lally.
It's already history. 21.3 it was, set last year by Jerome Blekemolen.
Right.
By the way, it was a jolly good first lap by Ben Keating.
Yeah.
He was briefly at the top on lap 3. So it's the second flying lap. He was at the top. He's going to slip down because the Mercedes they're struggling a little bit this weekend, it would appear, despite that little bit of a balance of performance change coming into this weekend in their favour.
And if this is the first time that you've seen pictures this weekend on IMSA TV, been listening to us on IMSA Radio on RS2 and the IMSA app, the 75 car has a new livery, not the coat of many colours, but Lincoln Park this weekend. Tribute to the band. And through goes that car, Dion von Moltke. 122.0. Lots of blue on the screen means everyone is improving, getting settled in. What we saw earlier on, Jeremy, when people were doing actually, I'll put this to Lena Geard, who's alongside us. What we saw earlier on was there was quite a good longevity on the tyre. It seemed like the guys could go a long time and keep racking off the quick laps, and therefore as the fuel burned off, they just got quicker.
Yeah. I think also tyres coming up to temperature, if there's not a lot of drop-off, or if you are kind to them and you can get more laps out of them, then you wait till you've got that opportunity to have the low fuel, the low load.
Yeah, I mean, conditions last night in the cool of the evening were absolutely perfect. We're not going to get near that times, I wouldn't imagine. But and it's even warmer now, Lena, isn't it, than it was earlier this afternoon? I think the forecast said it was going to be 5 degrees warmer this afternoon now than it was even at that qualifying session.
Yeah.
That makes quite a difference, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Even in these cars.
Yeah, and you know, there's adjustments that you need to make for your base tyre pressures and things like that. But having the compound working in the optimum range at the exact time that you need it. Not guesswork, there's experience that's put into that, but these guys are learning it perhaps also whilst they're going along in these conditions.
And how much of that is data that you are collecting at the event, and how much do you have to lean on your tyre engineer or your tyre supplier to help you with that?
It's a bit of both. They've got a good understanding of what's going on with the tyres, but for every single team that they supply to. So they take that information and they use it to optimise what advice they're giving to the engineers and to the other teams.
So 6.5 minutes left in this session. 120.844. Matteo Cressoni on the top of the pile at the moment by 1/10.5. Inconsiderable margin given the tightness of the field over the last couple of days, but he's immediately usurped by Andy Lally in that 93 Acura. 120.7. What was that fast lap from Hawksworth, did you say, Jeremy?
20 flat. 20.01 something, I think.
Okay.
20.031.
Okay. It seems that we're getting down towards that. I'm sure we're going to find 7 tenths in a second, but we might find a couple of tenths here and there. These GTD cars running to GT3 Formula here in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Very sophisticated cars nowadays. Put it out of your mind any thoughts of mildly modified street cars. These are purpose-built, pretty much racing cars. A lot of GT3 is a balance of performance formula, so you can pretty much do what you will to them, so long as you provide the right documentation and about 50 billion photographs. It's a very, very complex system because basically you've got to give each car a technical passport that it has to be within every single race, and that's down to nuts and bolts. The 16 Lamborghini in the hands of Jeroen Mul, laying down some Continental rubber going up the hill at turn 1. Might not be the fastest way, but we love it because that looks spectacular. And Mul is on a quick one at the moment. See his split times as he comes through to the end of the first split here. He's through turn number 5. The back end looking very, very leery there as it bounced through turn 5 over the curbs. I am not a suspension engineer, but that didn't look comfortable there. Quite a lot of suspension travel though on the back of that Lamborghini, Lena.
He's obviously pushing quite hard. That's not how you would be racing every lap over 10 hours. So yes, it did look a little bit leery, as you said, but it also looked under control for him.
It's interesting. Yeah, Jack Hawksworth just came across the line with a clear run in number 15 Lexus. He's second, a massive 0.059 behind Andy Lally at the moment, and he went personal best in sector 1, but didn't improve in sectors 2 or 3, and he lost about 0.3 of a second on the end of that lap. That's interesting. I'm wondering whether it is pretty warm right now. I'm wondering whether we're going to see many improvements. They've already done 6 or 7 laps. It's quite a few.
Jeroen Mul did not improve. Got a best sector.
Cressoni just went purple in sector 3, but didn't improve either overall on the lap.
No, he was down a bit on the lap, but having a good third sector normally means you're getting a bit of space to go on to a fast one. Yeah, so let's see if he's got the space and he's got the life in the tyres. Meantime, through again goes Andy Lally. Acura have had a cracking year, Jeremy. Actually, probably a better year than they might have even hoped for in their first year in such company, when you've got manufacturers' marks that have been around for a long time to come in and compete and take race victories. Very impressive.
Yeah, particularly since when they first arrived at Daytona for the raw test, they weren't hanging their heads, but they were saying, cool, we've got a long road ahead of us here to be where we really need to be in terms of the car being comfortable, consistent and fast.
You don't want to do your development during the race season. It's not the way to work, is it, Miss Geard?
No, but it's not unheard of. I mean, you do have a certain level of development that still carries on because the competition always keeps moving forward, so do you. So there is still stuff going on.
Here comes Cressoni down the hill. Watch this.
Yeah, he's on a quick one here. Jeremy had a good first sector, the best middle sector of anybody, and he goes back to provisional pole position. 120.6. We're not talking about big movements of time here. 0.078 now, the gap between first and second. 0.078. That's not a tenth of a second. That's less than a human reaction time to a starting pistol at the start of a 100 metres race. That's how close we're talking about here. Cressoni then in the red and white Ferrari, the champions-elect for his teammates this weekend, Christina Nielsen and Alessandro Balzan. And just look at him as he goes down to turn 6. I think he's on another one, actually. He's got a bit of clear road ahead of him. Just brushes the edge of the curb as he comes out to 6 into 7. And he's done another personal best first sector. And a spin for Ben Keating in the 33 car, the white and green Mercedes-Benz. Now, where is he? He's at the top of... Oh, yeah, well, we've all done that. He managed to keep it out of the wall, though. Ben Keating uses the motorcycle chicane. Very easy to get Larry at the top of the hill there. Well done to Ben for keeping it out of the wall. Yes, yeah, all right. Lena probably doesn't know the story, but I bent every panel on an MX-5 Global Cup car this time last year here.
Why would you do that?
Sorry, boss. See, you don't want to be my race engineer, really.
Hey, nice improvement there for Sheldon van der Linde in the number 29 Motoplast by Land Motorsport Audi, up into 4th place. That was the best lap, 120.830. So we got the top 4 cars within 0.2 of a second. We got the top 8 within, well, 4. I mean, golly, this is really tight in this GTD field. And Matteo Cressoni.
Oh, mistake from Andy Lally at the top of the hill, but he just takes to the motorcycle chicane. Another one who used a bit of extra tarmac there just to give himself a wee bit of room. He's got a little bit of grass in the splitter, but I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. Really nice smiley face, that Acura. Always looks like it's grinning to me.
Yeah, it does. Like the Mazdas.
through to turn 6. He's allowed a couple of cars to go through. Cressoni with the checkered flag out now. Cressoni has not a bad lap going, but it's Van der Linde who has his best first sector. Also Michael Christensen, but he's pitted. So Van der Linde gets the checkered flag, doesn't improve from the 4th place for the Motorplast Land Audi.
He doesn't, but he turns another lap almost identical, 1:20.897. Yeah.
That is impressive for the young South African, Sheldon van der Linde. And Andy Lally, well, actually made the best of a bad job there. Didn't try to fight the fact that he braked too late for turn 2 and brings the car back in one piece, which Lena Gade approves of. Even if he did go off track, better to go off track and ruin the lap than end up in the wall trying to save it, presumably.
Yeah. You're not going to win the race by having some stonking qualifying lap here. And breaking the car is not a good thing.
No,
an option for you, is it?
That's definitely good. But I do think that was actually a really good strategy by number 63 team, because Cressoni is super fast. We know that. He's been driving these cars for years in Italy and Europe in general. And you know, it's so competitive, this GTD class. There's so many cars in there, so many different manufacturers. Starting up front, I think, actually means quite a lot more this class than it does in the other ones, just because of how competitive it is. If you can stay out of trouble at the front, you're looking good. And I think that's, you know, we know he's going to be fast in the race. We know the Ferrari is very good on its tyres. It has excellent fuel consumption as well. That car's going to be in good place, in good shape.
If it can stay in front lane, it opens up your strategy.
It does, yeah. Yeah. You can stay out of the trouble. You can let it go on behind you, and you can set the pace, really.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, the championship is all but won anyway. They've just got to get this car at the starting line, really. Shea Adam is down with our GTD pole sitter for the 20th running of Petit Le Mans here at Road Atlanta. Matteo Cressoni for Scuderia Corsa.
Congratulations, Matteo. What a showing out there. We know the Ferrari is good here at Road Atlanta, but did you just have the perfect lap, or is there more in the car for tomorrow?
You know, we didn't know till today, but what I can say, the car was fantastic. The team did an amazing job. And I want to say only thanks to the team and to this guy, my teammate, that helped me yesterday to get me some laps in the car, to get me use of the track and the car. Excellent. Now we are immediately focused on the race.
There are a lot of championships still to go. Your driver championship is done. When you start the race, though, you're a silver, right? So you'll be in the car for 2 hours and 45 minutes?
Yes, we're still fighting for the NAAC. And we start on the best way that we can do. But, you know, the race is 10 hours, it's tomorrow. And now I would like really focus on the race.
Congratulations for today. Good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought he was silver. So as long as you get one silver driver at 2 hours and 45.
Yeah, I don't like that rule. I thought we got rid of that rule, but we haven't, have we?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not every silver driver that's got to do 2 hours and 45. No, it's a silver driver.
Yeah.
So if you had a bronze and 2 silvers or 3 silvers, it would just have to be one of them, and then you could cycle the rest through. So Matteo,
is that the case? Well, they have the minimum drive time as well.
Yes,
don't we?
but that is only one stint, isn't it? 45 minutes or whatever it is. Jeremy will have the supplementary regs.
I will somewhere, won't I?
Minimum drive time for GTD is 2 hours 45 minutes per driver, Shea. Is
yes,
that, sorry,
I think so.
I'll fade you back up, Shea, so the world can hear you.
I believe it is the silver driver who has to go through and do it, but everybody must meet a minimum drive time.
Exactly.
So it's 2 hours and 45 minutes for everybody.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, right, sorry, that's my mistake. Well, there's been a couple of changes to the supplementary regulations, the sporting regulations on that, so I will check that again before we get into our Michelin Countdown to Green tomorrow. We can bring that back. I think that was a smart move, as Jeremy says. It opens up the strategy, and that gives them the opportunity to dictate the race their way, and also potentially to manage their other driver talent. Cressoni then will be on the front row of GTD for Ferrari. From Acura in second, Andy Lally, 0.078 of a second. And I'm quite serious about that. If that was your reaction time to 100 metres starter's gun, that's a false start because you can't react that quick to the sound coming to you. Jack Hawksworth is on the inside of row number 2 with the number 15 Lexus, and he's only a 10th and a third away, 10th and a half away for the Land Motorsport Audi for Van der Linde. That's row 2. For row 3, BMW and Porsche. Nice variety of cars again.
That's right, 7 different ones in the top 8, aren't there? Ferrari, Acura, Lexus, Audi, BMW, Porsche. So top 6 all different. Acura the first repeater, then Lamborghini, and then Lexus and Audi and Lamborghini again. Really interesting. And
yeah, Lena Gade is with us, former race engineer at Audi, now with the Bentley GT3 program. GT3 has been tremendously successful in a relatively short time. It's completely exploded around the world. This variety of cars that we see here is replicated in championships around the world. A lot of people don't like BOP, but it gives cars that have very different philosophies in their road car lives to race together on a relatively level playing field.
Yeah, and that's obviously worked for Bentley to be able to go racing against the likes of the small little Audis and the Porsches. There is a science behind it. You need to know what you are doing. You need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are and use those to play your race out during a weekend. And you have to think about the long term as well, because if you go out and obliterate all the competition, the next race you know about it when you've got a bigger penalty. And if you're going for championships, there's, as I say, a science behind it that requires you to think about what you want to exploit and when.
So you are talking about not sandbagging, because I don't like that word, but you're talking about managing your performance over a period, a longer period of time than a 45-minute race.
Yeah, sandbagging is blatantly making yourself go slower, and that's not what I'm talking about. It's looking at where your performance is and how you can utilize it to the best of your ability, because we were talking about the ambient temperature earlier here and how cars are suffering when it's much hotter. Well, that doesn't just affect tires, it's going to affect water temperature, intercoolers, performance of the engine. Now, what you don't want is you come to somewhere like this place and you've got a big penalty against you being able to use all your engine power, so you need to know how to manage that. It's not as easy as it sounds. And
so if you're looking at a race schedule, let's say in Europe for Bentley, where Monza is a certain amount of time in, and you think you've got a good car for Monza, then you do not want to get a penalty just before. You don't want to get a BOP adjustment down over just before you get to a track where you think we've got a chance.
You would try to avoid that. On the other side, and I think this has been done quite well pretty much by a number of the manufacturers, you're not going to give up a race win either. And I don't think you ever should, because actually getting those points at a given point in the season, even if that strong race is coming up, you don't know what's going to happen at that race. You know, to yourself, your cars, your sister cars, whatever it might be. So there's a little bit, let's say, playing, and you have to learn it. Actually, it was something I wasn't used to when I came across from Audi. We didn't do BOP like that.
No.
So.
And it's a different animal.
It is, yeah. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
Another part of the strategy, though.
100%, yeah.
Let's hear who is qualifying in GT Le Mans. Shea Adam has the news on the qualifying drivers.
From our champions-elect, the number 3 Corvette, it is the one driver of that trio who does not have a win at Petit Le Mans. It is Antonio Garcia who will be trying to get pole. His team car will be driven by Tommy Milner, trying to get his first pole in this championship. Next series back, we find the Ford Chip Ganassi Racing. Those two, 67 is Richard Westbrook, looking to repeat what he did last year and claim the GTLM pole. 66 is none other than Joey Hand, who's already gotten a handful, pun intended, of poles this year. Number 911 Porsche is Patrick Pilet, and the number 912 Porsche is Jimmy Bruni, who does have a pole in this new car. The BMWs, the number 24 is Martin Tomczak. First time to this track, they are giving him qualifying duties. And the guy for whom the livery is done on the number 25, it is Bill Oberlin, who will be making his 400th start for BMW tomorrow. Well, he's getting another chance at getting another pole. And the final car going out for the GTLM qualifying session is the number 62, Risi Competizione. Last time out, It was Tony Vilander who put the car on pole. That was his first in the series. That was at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. He's looking to go out and defend that with another one. And oh, by the way, they were defending race winners last year, so if he can do it anywhere, he sure can do it here.
Green flag is in the air. Perfect timing from Shea Adam as she ran down our pole, or our challengers for pole position. And no great urgency to go out from anyone at the moment. And we've seen a variety of tactics down through the season of various teams deciding to go out straight away, hanging back. The BMW RLL team tend to want to wait till the end. And by the way, congratulations, if you are just joining us this week, congratulations to Bobby Rahal. They have got the programme for the new M8 for next year.
Finally, we have a taker.
Only 15 minutes.
Nobody went out initially.
After you, Claude.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting.
Opposite of Laguna, where everybody went out straight away. They were all racing to the pit exit.
Yeah. Corvettes have been fast here this weekend. Yeah. Really fast. And let's not lose sight of it, particularly the Manufacturers' Championship. Corvette leads it coming into this weekend with a 4-point advantage over Ford. And that means a lot.
Particularly to those two manufacturers, Ford and General Motors, Chevy. They have been great competitors rivals down through the years. And the resumption of that rivalry here on home turf, that would be a feather in the cap for either of them. The Drivers' Championship now is in the grasp of Jan Magnussen and the rest of the 3 team.
And we talked about it yesterday, the Manufacturers' Championship. It's Chevy and Ford are separated by 4 points to the top. BMW are 9 points behind in 3rd position, having won the most recent race at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. It's not impossible for them to win. They would have to win the race, and the Corvette would have to be the last finishing of the 5 manufacturers. And if it finishes, if it's a BMW 1-2, then whatever is 3rd gets 2nd place points. Yes. In the manufacturers. So the Chevy would have to be the last finisher in manufacturers. If that were to be the case, and if Ford was the next one up, then BMW and Chevrolet would be tied on points. They would both have 4 wins, and BMW would take it on a tiebreaker of second places, I think.
Right, so if both Corvettes fall out in the first hour, then both Fords fall out in hour 2.
Yeah.
Then it's
and
down.
BMW goes on to win.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying there, Jeremy. That's why I have you for the stats. Yeah. Maths was double period on a Friday afternoon when I was at school. I didn't see a lot of it. It actually wasn't. If there's anybody listening from Farringdon Comprehensive School while I was there, it was actually technical drawing. It was double period on Friday afternoon, but it never let a fact get in the way of a good joke. I'm being looked at very strangely by the leader.
Yeah, because what you've done is you tried to make a joke, and then you backtracked.
Yeah, I know.
And now we're just all confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, so generally speaking this season we've seen massively improved times all of a sudden in qualifying when we get to GTLM. But now we get down to nitty-gritty time in this championship. There's no point in not showing everything you've got in the first few sessions, because there aren't going to be any more bounce and performance changes to lead us point earlier on before the final race, which is tomorrow, unlike at Le Mans last year. So you might as well just get on with it, show what you got, and run as fast as you can through all the practice sessions. And as I said, the Corvettes, for probably the first time this year, have been super fast in all of the sessions. Rather interesting, that.
Jim Roller with an observation.
Lena, I have had undying respect for you for many, many years for your accomplishments on the racetrack. But now you have elevated your status to my hero. It's fantastic.
What, just because of she's taken me down a peg or two?
Thank you.
So, 5 minutes almost gone already, and we're still waiting for the first quick laps. This is...
I can't wait to see how the Porsches get on here.
Well,
it's going to be really interesting.
It's just clouded over a tiny bit. I just saw Lena looking to see how much cloud there was above it, and that might just make a difference, Lena.
It's not enough cloud to stay cloudy for the remainder of this qualifying session, but yes, it's going to get interesting to see the guys on the slightly newer tyres and where their laps come out.
there's some tracks, aren't there, where as soon as the sun goes away, your track temperature falls away massively. Air temperature drops, of course, a little bit as well, but there'll be the track temperature they'll be interested in. Particularly tracks like here where they've got lighter coloured tarmac, older tarmac, it doesn't hold the heat quite as much as the newer, darker stuff.
So I beg your pardon.
Go on.
The fastest lap of the weekend so far was set last night by Tony Wielander at a 1:17.4, Antonio Garcia 1:17.5, and Tomczyk 1:17.6. So it's Ferrari, Chevrolet and BMW separated each by a tenth. The lap record, by the way, in GT Le Mans was set last year by Richard Westbrook at 1:18.1.
Go on, see it.
It's still cloudy.
Still cloudy. Patrick Pilet is to the top with a 19.2 for the 911. That's his first flying lap. The first flying lap at speed, at least, didn't really push it on his first flying lap. Antonio Garcia is about to better that. He's currently in second position. The two Corvettes, second and third at the moment. The 3 and 4 car, Garcia and Milner. And they are the only cars ahead of the GTD field as the rest of the field bring their Michelin tyres up to temperature gently and carefully. Temperature and pressure. Garcia with a 17.8 has a mistake at the top of the hill at turn 2 for the number 67 car. Oh, well, that's one way to cut down on tyre wear.
Don't have in contact with the ground.
Yeah, Richard Westbrook with the right side Michelin's about 4 inches off the ground there for a moment.
Stout lap by Antonio Garcia,
yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, 17.8 in these conditions. Stand by, Richard Westbrook is on a quick one. He's down at the chicane now at turn 10 and 10A, underneath the Fox Factory Bridge. Comes into our vision now. Oh, that Ford looks a stable platform as it comes through the final corner. Didn't even use all of the exit and goes to second by half a second, but didn't look to be pushing that hard. That is a mark of a car that is handling well, in my money. Bill Oberlin splits first and second. 400 start, 150 of those has been on the top step of the podium as finishers for Bill Oberlin. What a record he's got. Unbelievable split times. So close at the top of the field. And Bill Oberlin in second. 3/10 back from the pole.
Sort of. On this lap, Antonio Garcia has just gone about basically half a second faster through sector 1 than the BMW, but in sector 2 he lost 3 of those tenths. Then he gained 1 back again in the final sector. Another 17.9 though, that lap by Antonio Garcia. Stunning first sector.
And that's the twisty bit.
That's the twiddly bits, yes indeed.
Yes, that is the Slarty Bart fast twiddly bits. Antonio Garcia. That used to be the Audi. Was always good round the twisty bits at Silverstone, I seem to remember. Remember that stunning race that we had where the Porsches were quick in a straight line and the Audis were good round the twisty bits. I'm very excited for a while in that. It's unusual for me, I know. I tend to be rather level-headed when it comes to motor racing. Richard Westbrook's on another quick one and bounces back to second. And the gaps are coming down, 0.005 of a second. Leaves Lena Kidd open-mouthed.
And Wielander?
And Tony Wielander up into third, 0.052 of a second. Top 3 within half a tenth again.
0.052.
Just not trying.
Don't go and say that to him.
Really interesting.
Hey, Tony, you've lost 0.052 of a second. Come on, try a bit harder, mate.
Another good
you
lap.
You just wouldn't say that to him, would you?
Another good lap from Garcia.
Yeah, need you to push hard now. Garcia pulls out 0.070 of a second now. Back to Richard Westbrook. Still not a tenth of a second. Garcia is on a mission today. That Corvette, as Jeremy said at the start of the session, has been quick and just seemingly getting quicker. That's ominous for me at this stage of the week. And the Porsches again sitting down in 7th and 8th position, not finding the pace, but still out there. Jimmy Bruni and Patrick Pilet.
Wielander purple in sector 1, fastest of all. Richard Westbrook purple in sector 2, fastest of all. This is going to be really interesting.
Well, whoever wins this one's going to deserve it. 5 minutes left to go. Pilet is in the pits in the 911. Former championship winner, new fastest lap. Jeremy?
Yeah, by Richard Westbrook very briefly, because Tony Wielander eclipses that. 17.664 for Tony Wielander.
Remember, this is GT Le Mans qualifying. Tony Vielander by 0.041 of a second, 5 minutes to go from Richard Westbrook. Ferrari, Ford, Chevy, BMW, Porsche, Ford. What's up with the 66 car? We've got one of the Fords battling for pole position, and the second car has just managed to haul itself off the bottom because the 911's already gone into the pits. Shea, Adam, what did they do to the 66 car? To the 911 car, excuse me.
Yeah, they gave Patrick Pilet a slight pressure change. They were not expecting him to come in, and he has now gone back out.
Okay, well, Patrick Pilet is a former winner of this championship, so he knows this track. And Jeremy?
New purple sector.
Oh, hello. Bill Auberland calling.
Bill Auberland's 5th at the moment. 0.384 seconds off the ultimate pace set by Tony Vielander.
I love these short.
Sure, that's enough in the middle of the track.
28
Tony Vielander underneath the bridge, I think, for Bill Auberland.
Vielander goes through. Auberland still not using the curb on the exit to turn number 11.
Oh, goodness gracious.
3rd position.
Yeah, 0.067.
So 3 cars back within half a tenth or near enough again.
You know, I think he lost just a little bit of time in that middle sector. It wasn't a personal best even. He was purple, fastest of all in sector 1, personal best in sector 3, but not better than his previous best in the middle part of this racetrack, which is basically the 2 corners, the far end of the track, 6 and 7, and on to the back straight.
All of a sudden, Joey Hand has come to life, and he is in 5th position now with a 17.9. That brings 7 cars within half a second out of the 9 there. So it's just the 2 Porsches at the moment who are off the pace. And Jimmy Bruni puts in a quicker lap, and he's within half a second now. So it's only Patrick Pilet who is beyond half a second in the whole field. Just 9 cars out on the track, remember, so everybody's got a bit of space. This is as fast as you'll see these cars being driven all weekend, and we've got 3 minutes and 8 seconds still to go in this qualifying session. Very interesting to see the line through the final
Tommy Milner
corner.
improved last time around, 17.919, but still 6th, just 2.2 seconds off. Who's improved in there? Antonio Garcia.
Garcia's going for one again.
Yeah, he's gone purple in sector 1, fastest of all.
Yeah, he just did a slowing down lap.
He did, didn't he?
Yep, yeah. Everything down.
Yeah.
So
1:25, so he threw away about 8 seconds on the lap. How much time? How much is that going to bring down is it the pressures or the temperatures you're worried about at this stage?
Do a bit of both.
Yeah.
You're especially interested in pressures over pressurized tyres. If you think about it, it's like a balloon, so
Indeed.
you've got much less contact patch. Right. So you bring it all down, you get it all into a better working window. Yeah.
Why am I chuckling? Because Antonio Gar did improve. He was purple in sector 1, but he didn't improve either of his sector 2 or 3. But he sneaks into 3rd place ahead of Auberland. So the top 4 now covered by 0.071 of a second. It's silly, isn't it, really? But I wonder whether he pushed a little bit too hard in that first sector, because that's where you take the most out of your tyres, isn't it? Through the S's and up the hill through 5.
If he hadn't quite got the pressures down to where he wanted and then pushed a bit too hard for the next 2/3 of a lap, he was probably going to be on the wrong side of the pressure for the lap.
is it that sensitive, Lena? That
They are, yeah.
Wow. And what we're talking about in terms of pressure changes here, a full PSI, a couple of PSI, or fractions of PSI?
We go in bars.
All right, bars.
Yeah.
Then.
I go to the bar as well. Pardon?
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
How many bars?
I think I'm not sure what sort of target pressures these guys might be running, but when you're sort of even a tenth of a bar over, or even 2/10 over, you start to drop off the performance from your optimum. Okay. So you do have to manage that again, and that's why he had a very, very slow lap. We've just seen the BMW do a similar kind of thing. So, you know, I think they manage the tyre, try to see if they can get more out of it. Antonio would have known after the first sector if there was any more that was due to come. So.
Yeah, interesting. And he had done, because he went purple in that sector.
Yeah.
Joey Hand's just improved, by the way, so we've now got 5 cars inside 1/10 of a second of the pole position.
That's extraordinary.
I mean, I was at Jerez in 96, wasn't it, when Jacques Villeneuve was there, and the top 3 cars in Formula 1, top 3 cars on the grid are identical times to the thousandths of a second.
Down to the 3 decimal places.
Absolutely ridiculous. But this is the closest I've seen, I think, since then. apart perhaps from Formula Ford.
But what we're seeing here, Jeremy, is cars of, those top four are a mid-engine Ferrari, a mid-engine Ford, a front-engined Corvette, and a front-engine BMW. V8, V6, V8, V8. I mean, they are different cars.
Brilliant.
And, this is not a full BOP, not a full BOP category as such. It is a technical base technical. That is brilliant. Checkered flag is out. Antonio Garcia. I don't think it's going to change now. Tommy Milner's on a better lap.
Well, yeah, and he just improved his last lap. Did Joey Hand just improve?
No, that was the lap before.
No.
Oh, no, he's just gone through. Yeah, Joey Hand up to fourth.
Yeah.
So
he was fifth.
Ferrari, Ford, Chevy, Ford. Yes, he's got ahead of BMW because I was saying BMW was fourth. You're absolutely right.
And Milner improved on that last lap as well. I'm really impressed that this all the way through the session, we're seeing faster and faster lap times.
Well, yeah, look where the best laps are, Jeremy. 7, 5, 9, 8, 6, 10, 4.
Yeah, 10. Even Patrick Pilet improved his last lap as well.
So all of the cars. So Patrick Pilet came through. He's 3/4 of a second back. Jimmy Bruni is half a second back, and everybody else in the field is covered by 4/10 of a second, with the top 5 covered by less than a tenth. I'd say that was a decent. Field of cars. That
was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Yes.
Go on. Consecutive poles for Risi Competizione, and they are back with a vengeance after taking a little sabbatical post Le Mans. This is the repaired Le Mans chassis. The helmet is coming off Tony Vielander. Jim Roller is already there. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, he's all smiles, John. Tony, congratulations. That's 2 in a row. I haven't seen you smile this much in a long time.
Yeah, if the IMSA just keep adding weight to us, we keep pushing harder. So, what a great day. Car's been running well. We've been learning a lot since we came back. Every time the car feels better and better. Now I feel I can get more out of the race car, so really happy for the Risi crew. Ale Birguidi is here with us this weekend, and he's been super fast, so we had a good trio for the race, so looking forward.
All right, but what about race strategy?
Yeah, we had 2 main mans here, Rick and Lee, so they will figure it out. I didn't study so much, so mine is just with the steering wheel and the pedals, so they will let me know, or they will let us know during the race what to do, and we try to execute a perfect race.
Well, John, these guys sure do know how to win. They won the first one as Doyle Risi Racing, and there are still 3 guys on this crew that were here in 1998 that won that race. 4, actually. I'm getting a little note here from... There we go, 4 guys. There it is. Richard Taylor, Johnny Langdon, Bill Farnell, and Scott Gresham. Beaky Sims joined the team in 2001.
Keep those names handy, because we might be calling them out again at the end of 10 hours. That's an extraordinary run in a fabulous qualifying session.
Yeah, and what Tony was alluding to there was the fact that there was one BOP change since Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca 2 weeks ago, and that was the addition of 15 kilos to the Ferrari. I reckon that was probably the right call, because you couldn't get any closer than that, could you? Clearly, yeah, the Ferrari has been the fastest car, apparently, over the last couple of races, and I think that change looked like a pretty smart one.
Was there any fuel tank size
no,
change?
No, there wasn't. That was the only change, I think.
Okay, fine.
For anything. Yeah, exactly. The BMW went an awful long way on its tank of fuel, didn't it?
And had 6 kilos of fuel pumped out of it at the end, having gone longer than anybody else.
But it had the fuel tank size had been reduced actually slightly prior to.
The Ferrari is very frugal on fuel. Ferrari frugal on fuel. That's not easy to say, is it? It goes a long way on a tank, the Ferrari, and so they have the slowest fuel fill rate to try and balance that up. They don't have to put as much fuel in the car. So they've got a small fuel tank, but they have a small restrictor on the fuel fill as well. So the idea from IMSA is to try and balance the amount of time the cars are stationary for full fuel. Richard Westbrook getting airborne over the curbs at turn 2 early on, but it all came down to Risi Competizione and Tony Vielander nicking away pole position from Richard Westbrook. 0.045 from the 2 front rows, between the 2 front row starters, 62 and 67, Ferrari and Ford. Then it's Chevy and Ford, on row 2. Tonio Garcia, champion with Jan Magnussen there in the 3 car. He was all of 0.54 back and 0.069 back. Joey had Bill Oberlin, 0.071 from... I bet Bill Oberlin, in his 400 race starts, has never been 0.071 of a second behind the pole man and been in 5th position. That is a new one even for him. I cannot believe that if you're that close to pole position, that you're 5th on the grid. And all bar the Porsches within half a second of the pole sitting time. Porsches still looking, well, not themselves, shall we say, this weekend. The car didn't look too bad. So
it's been quick in some of the sessions, certainly, and I'm sure they're working toward the race. And
you never count Porsche out.
No, and particularly looking at the weather forecast for tomorrow, it does look as if that threat of rain is very real. So that could change everything, couldn't it?
Yeah, when's it going to rain? Just so I can get indoors.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So you can work out which shift you're on when you're in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That seems reasonable.
Trying to get your hair wet, it goes curly.
I've got the same problem.
Have you?
Yeah,
oh, right.
Terrible.
All yours off.
I just wonder, with watching that session there and seeing it so close. First of all, congrats to the guys in the technical department, Jeff Carter and Simon Hodgson, along with the rest of their teams. They're collecting inordinate amount of data. Slightly ominous clouds. Yeah, slightly grey. They're not ominous. I don't think it's going to dump now. Don't think it's going to dump a little precipitation here.
No, not this evening, I don't think.
Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, 35% chance, which means that's 65% chance it'll be dry. You see, I'd much rather look at it that way.
Yeah, but it's more fun when it rains. Throws everything up in the air.
Did you like that as a challenge then, or do you like that as a challenge as an engineer?
Yes, I did.
Even if you were, doing well and your plan was being executed perfectly.
Yeah.
You're weird.
Why? It's a fact of racing. At some point, you are going to experience rain somewhere, and you've got to manage that situation. You've got to manage those tyres. You might be out on a wet track when you've got slick tyres, or vice versa. Your drivers need to know what to do. It was always fun. If you viewed it as a problem, you're viewing it in a very negative way. That's my opinion.
It's a challenge to be accepted.
Yes.
Hashtag.
Ross Brawn said, don't treat everything as a problem, treat it as a challenge. And he's right.
Agreed.
I like Ross Brawn, actually.
So do I. I think it's cool.
And he drew one of my favourite cars. The last Jaguar that he drew was the last car that he drew on a board rather than on a computer. And he did the whole thing. I was very fortunate to walk around that car and do an interview with him for the Group C 40th anniversary, and he told me that. So, this is the last one I drew on a drawing board. Look at this. I did this and I did that. Fantastic. That's when I know I'm having a good day, when things like that happen. Prototype challenge, just the 3 cars in this one. It's been an almost lockout for the 38 team this year. They didn't get pole position at Sebring, but other than that, it's been all theirs this weekend. And the 3 qualifying drivers, Shea Adams, surprised me.
Don Yount, Garrett Grist, biggest surprise of all. Nah, it's James French. Just messing with you.
Thank you, Shea. Shea Adam with that Continental time pit lane update.
Yeah, number 38 team. James French has been on pole in every race bar 1. Their season is much curtailed compared to the other categories. They've only got 8 races this season, 7 poles then, or I guess 6 up until now then for James French. The only interloper was Gustavo Jackerman at Sebring. Patricio Ward has set fastest lap in every race, and they've won every race. So yeah, just that 1 pole missing to make it an absolutely perfect season. I suppose you could say they haven't led every single lap, but they've led the vast majority.
And this is the swan song, of course, for the Orica Prototype Challenge car. Started off life as a LMP1 car back in 09, 08. In fact, it goes back a little bit further than that in another guise. Being a stout servant of motorsport, particularly here in America, the Formula Le Mans series never really took off in Europe. I remember commentating on about 15, 16 cars at Silverstone once, and it supported Le Mans definitely once as well. but it never really caught on, didn't catch people's imagination. But it was here at Road Atlanta after a Petit Le Mans that the car was first demonstrated to some teams that stayed over. And I think Gunnar Jeanette was the first person to drive one. And everybody went, oh yeah, that's a great idea, let's do that. And it's been here ever since and done great service for IMSA.
Yeah, the racing's been tremendous, hasn't it? Particularly the qualifying sessions. Yeah, they always come down to the last millisecond. Whoever has last car out on the track, it was really good fun. Just looking, by the way, before the cars go out there, at the hourly weather forecast for tomorrow, percentage chances of rain. It goes from about 2 o'clock in the morning, so 20%. 25% chance of rain, whatever that means. I've been here 30 years and I still haven't figured that out. Through the morning, and then 30% at about midday, up to 40% briefly, down again, up again, but nowhere now does it say more than 40% chance of rain.
That's down a bit from earlier
exactly,
in the week.
That was my point. And also, when I looked at this earlier on, there was the thunder shower things as well, which are not on this phone right now. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah. If I can feel rain on my head, it's raining.
Scott.
Indoors, if you feel rain on your head, it means the building's leaking.
Or worse. Yeah. All very well relying on technology. Sometimes it's just better to put your hand out from underneath the awning and go, yeah, it's raining.
Or looking up at the sky and the clouds, which way they're going, and seeing what's coming your way.
So these 3 cars then should have no problem with traffic. And will it be another prototype challenge pole position for the Performance Tech guys? The 38 team this weekend. Kyle Masson, James French and Patricio Ward. Garrett Chris, Tommy Treacy and John Fowle, by the way, joined the 26 Bar 1 Motorsports car. There was a TBA on the entry list. John Young, Buddy Rice and Danny Burkett, the Manitoba Missile, in the second of the Bar 1 cars, the number 20 car. Those are the 9 drivers for this weekend. This class disappears next year and will not be replaced. So the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship goes to a 3-class system with prototype, GT Le Mans and GT Daytona, as we have had a couple of races this year, including at the last round at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. So that means for 2018 both of the major championships will be a 3-class system, with TCR adding the 3rd class in the Continental Tire Sports Car Championship. Now, as Jeremy said, if you haven't seen this before, stay till the end, because it's last man out gets pole normally. What has been in the past, it's been a bit more of a dominating effect from the 38 this year, but we will see, I think, improvements all the way through. Is there a lap record in jeopardy here, Jeremy?
No, not really. I don't think. The lap record for these cars was actually set back in 2012, but there was quite a few differences back then. The Takal Marcelli, the 1:14.099, last year's pole, which is probably more relevant mark, was set by Robert Alon at a 1:16.411. Average speed, by the way, of 119.669 miles an hour. I think there's a chance perhaps that Garrett Grist might be able to challenge James French, certainly. Look at their relative times so far. Actually, James, surprisingly, perhaps, has set the fastest lap of the weekend so far. In the practice session a little bit earlier this afternoon, he turned during his qualifying sim, turned a 16.199, which is a couple of tenths quicker than Robert Lod managed last year. Garrett Grist's best so far was a 1:16.7, also set this afternoon in the earlier practice this afternoon.
Just to clarify the driver times for the Motul Petit Le Mans tomorrow. In the Pro-Am classes, a silver has to do 2:45. One silver has to do 2:45. The rest, it's 2 hours. Right. So whoever is your non-pro driver, silver or bronze driver, needs to do 2:45, one of them. So if you had 3, one of them would have to do it. The rest, 2 hours to be classified.
drive time requirement, which is a good one.
Yeah. And Garrett Grist, who is out at the moment, talking to Marshall Pruitt earlier on, and he was telling me Garrett likely to do a couple of IndyCar races next year, after done Pro Mazda and a couple of Indy Lights races as well.
So he's come up through the Mazda Road to Indy. Started off in USF 2000, moved up to Pro Mazda, then Indy Lights, as you say, done sort of a couple of partial seasons.
And just while we have a moment as well, while these times start to come in, James French has done a 17.9, Garrett Grist 19.3, Don Yount a 20 flat. Another story that I was just reading on Racer, following up something that we've been talking about for a little while on Midweek Motorsport, but the words have now come out of the driver's mouth. And this is Jensen Button we're talking about, has actually said the words, "I think I might like to go to IMSA where the DPI cars are." Reported on the IMSA Formula, on the Racer Formula 1 pages.
Surprised me at all.
No, not at all.
As soon as the whole thing came about, his name sprung to the top of my mind, as I'm sure it did the Honda folks. Because mainly because I think he would really enjoy the atmosphere. Not all Formula 1 drivers, I think, would enjoy everything over here. Particularly some of the circuits we go through are pretty sketchy in terms of what they're used to in Formula 1 in safety terms. It has to be said, for being perfectly honest, and some of them probably not going to be going for that. Jensen, however, I think, like Alonso, maybe would.
The interesting thing for me, and I'd be interested to hear what Lena Gade's got to say about this, he's not interested in driving, Lena, in a even if he could win in a GT class, because he can't get his head around cars going, even in P2 at Le Mans. He says, I'd love to do Le Mans, but I don't want to do P2 because I can't get my head around cars going 5, 10, 15 seconds a lap quicker than me. He wants to be in the top class. I presume you can understand that. I better turn your mic on if I want you to talk.
Yeah, I know I was coughing earlier, sorry. I can sort of understand it. It makes sense to him. He's come from, you know, Formula 1 where there is a range from the top of the grid to the back of the grid. He won't necessarily have experienced the overtaking that we get in sports car racing. So I can understand that a little bit, but you need to appreciate every single class that you have, whether it's at Le Mans or it's here, is incredibly competitive. We've just seen it with the GT Le Mans cars qualifying just now. There's quite a science behind it, but having those faster cars coming past you, I can sort of visualise what he's talking about.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because you're right, Formula 1 is actually multi-class racing nowadays.
Yeah.
Last year we had the closest Formula 1 field, last year or the year before, in terms of times back to front, that I think we'd seen in quite a long time. It's opening out again now, and you're seeing those big differences. So effectively there are some teams who are a bit more like a P2 team than a P1 team, and he doesn't want to go and he equates that with back of the grid, clearly.
Possibly, yeah. I think if that's the way he's viewing it, then I can understand why he might want to be with the top class, and getting overall wins. That could be a big thing for him as well. Rather than having your class win, it does have a different credibility associated with it, so I sort of see where he's coming from.
Quite brave sometimes for drivers from Formula 1 in particular to come and do other things, because you're there to be shot at and you're walking into another form of motor racing, and all forms of motor racing, as you've rightly said, are quite specialised, and you could come and frankly get a bit of a kicking here from the guys who know what they're doing, and you're putting a reputation on the line.
From a personal point of view, for a number of those drivers, there's going to be a challenge associated with it that they would like to overcome. I think they'll still view themselves versus the competition and how fast they are. So that could be where they get their kicking. You're absolutely right. I think a lot of people view F1 drivers as being at the top of their sport, but we know, for example, some of the top sports car drivers may have had a bit of a moment in a couple of F1 cars.
A dabble, yeah.
A dabble, and they don't, you know, they haven't done it, yet they're some of the best sports car drivers, and maybe they always remain those great sports car drivers, even if there is F1 competition coming in. It's a perception, isn't it?
I remember talking to Stefan Sarazan in Fuji about him going and doing his rallying and saying, why don't we have the Vic Elfords of this world anymore, where one weekend you'll be doing a rally, next weekend you might be doing a touring car race, the next weekend you're doing a sports car or Formula 1 race. And he said a lot of people don't want to put their reputation on the line. You know, it is difficult to, because it is such a competitive sport nowadays, you've got to get focused on one thing.
Yeah, and the disciplines are incredibly different. Philosophies are different. Getting used to, we had this when some of the DTM drivers would come across and drive the LMP car, switching back to the DTM at Audi was a bit difficult for them, and they'd have to kind of recalibrate themselves again. So I think it's a similar thing across the board, and yes, I'm sure there are reputations that will be put on the line.
One of the things that I think we've talked about before, Jeremy, with Giancarlo Fisichella, he didn't get GTs straight away, but when he did, my goodness, he got it.
Yes, and he's one of those open-minded characters that he loves it now, doesn't he? Absolutely loves it.
And part of that, I think, is the partnership that he's built with Wielander.
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, and I don't know Jenson Button personally, but I get the impression just from what I've seen and observed that I think he would get it. I think he would enjoy and thrive in this sort of atmosphere. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but that's just the impression I get from the outside. You guys are closer.
I've done charity karting against him. He turns up for things like charity karting, which I always think is a good yardstick if you're prepared to go out and do that and put your F1 race overalls on.
And the Race of Champions at the end of the year as well. He jumps to do that, doesn't he?
Absolutely. And I've met him at that as well, of course, having worked at that. He's always got a smiley face.
Yeah.
He likes to enjoy his motor racing, and I don't think he was doing in Formula 1 at the end of his career. This might revive him.
I think so.
I think you'll find somebody like Nico Rosberg might think about coming back as well, because I don't think Nico Rosberg is finding retirement as easy as he thought it might be. I just get a feeling from some of the tweets I've seen from him. Jenson is a good character. Do you know him?
No, I don't.
He's a good character.
Yeah, look, we've seen this big Mercedes AMG hospitality unit up there. Just saying. When you're talking about Nico Rosberg.
Yes, he's still, well, and Jenson's still contracted to Honda, of course, in the same way that Nico is still contracted to AMG Mercedes. So Jeremy makes a good point there. A DPI with a Mercedes GT3 engine in the back of it wouldn't be beyond the bounds of fantasy, would it? I mean, that
Are you starting rumours?
Just saying, just suggesting to anybody at AMG USA, you know, it's you know, if we've got the three. We've got two major Japanese manufacturers in DPI. We've got Cadillac here. Potential of there's a Toyota engine out there that could go into the back of a DPI. There's anybody who basically has got a GT3 engine could possibly go DPI racing.
Correct.
The question is though, for people like Jenson Button who've been at the top of the sport for such a long time, are they going to be? I mean, they're not going to get the same sort of salaries they got in Formula 1, so that's got to be a non-factor entirely. They'll be well compensated, but again, for people like him, I would.
Not sure that's the motivating factor for JP.
Indeed, for JP.
For JP.
JP, right, exactly. Yeah.
I think he's achieved. He's been a Formula 1 world champion.
Now he just wants to have some fun, be competitive, win some races.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him do some global rallycross. FIA global rallycross.
He was talking about that, wasn't he? He did talk about that, I think.
With Honda. He's got a bit of background in that in the family as well.
Yeah, very much so.
So coming down to the last minute, James French is in the pit lane, having posted a 1:16 even in the PC category. So how does that compare to last year, Jeremy?
Yeah, nearly 4 tenths quicker, good lap, and quicker than he'd managed earlier on this afternoon on his qualifying sim run. So hats off to James French.
Don Yount is chasing a 17 something. He's on an 18 flat at the moment, and he's desperate to get below a 1:18. He comes across the line now. He'll get one more lap, maybe two, and he does 17.9. That will have been a little personal milestone for Tom. We've seen him do this before, stay out there, but particularly when he's close to another second, trying to get another little personal marker.
Yeah, because his best in the last session, which I'm sure was a qualifying sim, was an 18.1. Yep. So he has found 2 tenths of a second as well. He'd love another 3, wouldn't he, to get ahead of all the GTLM cars? It's 2 and 2.5 tenths he's got to find.
Well, he's got this lap, I think. Where is he? Yeah, it's just this one, and he hasn't improved in his first sector. Oh, big slide coming out of turn number 7 onto the back straight. Half a minute to go, checkered flag being unfurled, and it's getting noticeably chillier.
Well, a lot more cloud cover, that's for certain.
For the prototype qualifying, who is that help? Oh, that would be Nismo territory. Unleash the Durrani.
Personal best for Donny out in the middle sector.
Oh, right, is there a chance here? Can he get ahead of the GTLM field? That'll be his next target. Down through to turn number 11, turns in right-handed. Checkered flag is out. And we wait just for a moment to see what Don's time is, and he does!
Well done.
Oh, brilliant, 17.6.
Good for him.
Oh, I'm really pleased about that. So the PC cars are lined up ahead of GTLM. The GTLM cars are ahead up against the above the GTD cars, and Don Young puts in a personal best of the week of a 1:17.6. James French, another pole position for Performance Tech. Share Adam.
Well, it's number 7 on the year. Career 11, I want to say, pole positions now for James French. You must have more flags than you know what to do with. And I'm sorry you're not getting one this week because they don't have a flag high enough for you. It's been one heck of a season. What was today like?
It was excellent out there. We had a really good car today. It was absolutely hooked up. So just a blast to drive. We had perfect weather. So yeah, just the track was awesome. The car was awesome. And yeah, we were able to put in a good lap, and that's exactly where we want to start for tomorrow's pole. So no complaints.
Team owner Brent O'Neill said the other day that you guys have been racing all season, not as if there are 2 other cars out there, but as if there are 13 other. Is that the approach for Petit Le Mans?
Exactly. I mean, we're always trying to get everything that we can out of the car, regardless of who else is with us. So yeah, we're just trying to do the best that we can and extract everything possible, and I think we did a pretty good job of that today.
Yeah, you did. Congrats. Good luck tomorrow.
Hey, thank you so much.
Pole position then, and that's Continental Tire pit lane report from Shea Adam. Well done to the Performance Tech guys. I just wonder how much they're ruining not get that pole position at Sebring for the perfect season. Gustavo Jackerman will not be on their Christmas card list, really, will he? He spoilt my season. Gustavo Jackerman ruined my season. See, that's a few people could probably say that about the Yak attack, in fairness. James French then qualifying on pole position for the 38 team ahead of the 26 Garrett Christ by a good second, 1.1 seconds. Right.
Oh, by the way, and the margin was, you're going to like this, 0.069.
Right.
To that perfect season. That was the margin by which Jackerman got the pole over James French at Sebring.
Oh, you see, I am cheesed off about that. If I'm the Performance Tech guys,
that's pretty funny, isn't it?
Cozies up to the television because we're getting pictures of the inside of that is the Orica, I think. Yes, it is. The Penske car, which has Elio Castro Neves' helmet behind the wheel. Well, not just the helmet. Elio's there as well. Obviously, if the helmet was there on its own, it wouldn't be very useful. Resplendent in its Penske colours. We're yet to know what the final livery will be for the Acura next year. Elio, who comprehensively shunted the car at turn 1 in practice, in testing a couple of weeks ago. In fact, the tub was an X-tub. It's gone to be a show car. One of the wheels pushed in through the chassis, and Udi Schonak's team at Orica working really hard at their base at Paul Ricard to get a new tub sorted and out here, and then Tim Cindric and the rest of the team at Penske having to transfer everything over into it.
Yeah, Jeff Swartout, who's the I'm not sure, team manager or team principal even, I'm not quite sure. He's the guy who's put this team together anyhow for Roger Penske. He made a history of doing that. He was the guy who put together the P2 program 10 years ago for Roger Penske. He's been involved down in Australia with the rebranding of the old Dick Johnson racing team there, with aligning with Penske in the Supercars Championship as well.
Yeah,
so.
Andretti's just gone down there as well, haven't they? With Andretti, Walkinshaw, something else, United or something.
Are they involved down there as well with that thing? Are they?
With the supercars,
I haven't had a chance to read that press release yet.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Michael
there's a
Andretti
worldwide
there.
alliance with alliance, I should say.
Yeah, Michael Andretti at the Bathurst 1000 this weekend.
Is he?
Apparently so, yeah. Pictures of him down there.
Good man.
Unless it was photoshopped, of course. You never know nowadays, do you?
No,
really, could be
he's a
anywhere.
racer. I'm sure he's there. I'm sure he'll come back with a big smile on his face.
So, prototype up next. The pole position at stake here for the 20th running of Petit Le Mans. Petit Le Mans 2017 is the Motul Petit Le Mans. And the championship already in the bag for the number 10 Dallara Cadillac team, the Konica Minolta DPI racing team. And the Taylor brothers in their last race for a wee while, where they'll be racing together, certainly in sports cars. That winning combination being broken up at the end of the season. And with that pressure taken off, they can go for the win, can't they?
Absolutely. And this is going to be a really interesting qualifying session, particularly with the weather conditions so different to how they were earlier on this afternoon.
Winds picked up, Jeremy, as well, blowing straight down the start-finish straight, so helping you into the braking area, or the slight lift, as it is for these cars, into turn one. The Konica Minolta team looking relatively relaxed, sitting there on the pit wall, just kicking their heels.
Well, yeah.
Give me a prediction then, Jeremy. Who's on pole?
Yeah, good question.
Ricky's in the 10.
Yeah. Renga van der Zander's wound up. Helio Castroneves is out to prove a point. I think Helio. Yeah, I really do.
Right. Yeah.
But I could go for 4 or 5. You know, Ricky Taylor's his qualifying this season has been magnificent. 5 poles this season already in the 9 races we have.
Well, don't forget, you can still get your predictions in for the race via www.podiumpredictor.com, powered by IHG Reward Club. Pick the top 3 in the categories and a fastest lap, and you could be a big winner this weekend. You're playing against our expert. First thing you've got to do is beat Ashley Freiberg, and Ashley's got to do better than me, because last race I actually got no points whatsoever. Try not to snigger, please, Lena. And so a lot of people got better than me, and we could possibly make somebody a points millionaire this weekend. Lots of great memorabilia up for grabs as well, as we're just waiting for the green flag here.
Yeah, if Olivier Pla is qualifying number 52 car, and he was certainly he was the guy who set the fast lap in the most recent session, suggests he might be doing. He's the lap record holder here in the IMSA Weather Sports Car Championship, 1:13.061. Say goodbye to that record.
Let's go down to Jim Roller. At the beginning of qualifying, Jim, you told me that the track temperature was 118 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yep.
And I think the air temperature was somewhere around 80, did you say?
Yeah, it's just like 82.
Right.
You know?
And now?
Now it's 80, almost even, 80.1. Track temp is now 95. Humidity is 60%. So, like last night, the air is clinically obese right now.
Yeah. You like that, if you've got a turbo engine car?
Well, it is a benefit. So, yeah, let's see what happens now.
Are we talking, I mean, you only have to be talking minor changes here, but, you know, something that the driver would feel, something that you could see on the telemetry? What were you pointing at there?
That it was Hartley, that's all.
Brendon?
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Well done.
I think the biggest noticeable factor for the drivers will be tyre temperatures and how they're coming up, coming in, how long the tyres have got their peak for, how much extra they can get out of them over these laps. It does tend to help when it gets a bit cooler, because you're not overstressing things. But there's still a limitation to it.
And now you presumably deciding what your starting temperatures are for your tyres as well, so that's probably going to take a little bit of a change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with what you're saying there, you know, Brendon's qualifying that car. You know, we know how quick he is. He's going to be hard to beat around here, because that Nissan is seriously quick. They've pegged it back a little bit over the last couple of races in terms of its boost pressure. For Mazda Raceway, they reduced the kind of high-end boost on that car just a little bit to bring it back a little bit closer to the other guys in terms of its top-end capability. But yeah, Brendon, he'll wring the best out of that car, and his Pipo Derani number 22 car as well. It's going to be fun, isn't it?
Still waiting for the green flag, which is 25 seconds away. And it looks like we're going to have a race to the pit exit here, because everybody is on their blocks. It's like having a field of Usain Bolts all cloned, ready to go. There's a certain sense of expectation here for the final qualifying session of the year, live in sound and vision, IMSA TV and radio together. Live from trackside, Dennis Paul, our starter, waves the green flag, and Continental Minolta get out first because they're at the end of the pit lane. JDC Miller Motorsport, the bright yellow 85, follow them out. And Brendon Hartley going out, as spotted by Lena Gade when we saw the onboard, the distinctive helmet colours of the lanky Kiwi. Heading to IndyCar, we believe, at the end of the WEC season. So, let's see how quickly times begin to tumble. Qualifying record, Jeremy, please?
Is
which will go at the first flying lap.
It still is now, I guess. 1 minute 13.061, an average speed of 125.1 miles an hour.
That is quick, isn't it?
It's not bad, is it? Yeah.
Round here, considering you've got a couple of slow corners. Not that slow for these downforce cars. The rumble of the 6.2 Cadillac V8 engine going down the back straight. A lot of camping on drivers left in the RVs up there. Good afternoon to all of you listening on 98.1 around the circuit. Remember, XM Sirius tomorrow.
It's going to get serious now, isn't it? That's very good.
Yeah. The Fox Factory Bridge and down to the final corner. Here comes Ricky Taylor across the line to start his first flying lap. He's got clear track ahead of him for the moment. Different sound to the Gibson engine as that screams by the 85 car. Didn't see who was in that, Jeremy.
It's going to be Misha Goldberg. Okay. Yeah, you'll see Simpson talk about that earlier on.
The two of the Dallara Cadillacs, the Action Express run cars, are on the pit lane and have not moved as yet. Eric Curran in the 31. And the 10 car already at turn 5, coming to 6, 7 now. And Renger van der Zande needs to be aware that he's got a fast lap car behind him. He accelerates out of 7. Don't think he held up the 10 car too much. There's nothing between them. Cadillac maybe just a little more torque and pulls past, and Renger needs some drop in there. Christian Fittipaldi will qualify to 5 when that comes down from its hijacks. So what is the first lap here?
And this is going to be the last full-time ride, isn't it, for Christian Fittipaldi? Announced earlier, or a week or so ago, that Philippe Albuquerque is going to be the full-time driver in the number 5 car, and that Christian will only be doing the Tequila Patron North American Endurance Championship events.
Remember when you said the lap record? They're down to a 15.0 on the first flying lap. It's a bit to go. Out is Elio now. Elio Castro Neves in the Team Penske car. This is the Orica chassis. Oh, locked up into turn 7, Elio. Big grab of the left front Continental tyre. Just pushing a tiny bit too hard. And that was a long lock up. He's looking to get away with a flat spot there. Without a flat spot, should I say.
Bouncing around and braking. Turn 10.
Yeah. Takes a lovely smooth line through turn number 11. Looks a little more nervous on the bumps. And Pipo Derani in the 22 at 12.3, Jeremy.
Yep, first flying lap for Pipo, new lap record.
Ricky Taylor at 12.8. There's competition here at the front of the field. This is going to be interesting. Castro Neves with the lock brake at 13.7. He's just dropped back behind Misha Goldberg at 13.6. See, everybody's going to want to out-qualify Elio to be able to say, I out-qualified Elio. Don't care who it is. That's something to talk about in the pub tonight, isn't it?
We're going to the pub?
Well, the drivers will.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. I think, as we mentioned a bit earlier, with Penske coming here, and it's quite a strong mark to show the opposition, you know, we're going to come with a car and show you what we can do at a 10-hour race. They're definitely going to be wanting to beat them.
Brendon Hartley wears in. He's a 10th.5 back, and Ollie Pla just on a 10th back. So the top 4 drivers in this class, as we've seen before, separated by not very much, a 10th.5.
Yeah, Matthias Besch jumped up in the 2nd place in the Rebellion. Orica, yep. And then briefly, Brendon Hartley went to purple in Sector 1, and then his teammate did so. And now, John?
Elio Castro-Neves down to an 11.6. Remember, these are P2
it's the fastest
chassis
lap of the week so far.
P2 based chassis. That is a P2 global car. That is a full P2 package. And Brendon Hartley in the Ligier with the Nissan engine. That's the...
Wait for Durrani too, whereas there he goes across the line, Durrani.
Yeah, Durrani will jump up into 2nd position. So the 2 Nissans, 2 and 22. I said if the temperature dropped, I fancied those Nissans to be close on at the top. 11.499 and 11.648 for the 2 and 22. Elio Castro-Neves 3rd, 11.6, 11.8 for Matthias Besch. 4 drivers underneath 72 seconds around here. All right, it's not the old P1 days.
Ollie Pla turned a 12.1 on that lap, but he lost half a second in the 1st sector compared to the 2 Nissans. And it's Brendon Hartley.
Castro-Neves to the top. Are we going to get somewhere? We're going to get a sub 10, a sub 11, aren't we? If they keep going like this. Elio now an 11.438.
So conditions now are really quite good, Lena, aren't they?
Yeah, the track conditions are going to have improved with qualifying in general, the cooler temperatures. These guys have got into the swing of qualifying now. They've done a series of laps, and they're pushing a little bit more every single lap to try and keep those improvements coming.
Hartley did not improve on that lap of 11.6. Pipo Durrani did up into 2nd place. So we've now got the top 3 cars covered by .061. We're getting down to GTLM competitiveness levels, aren't we?
Half a tenth again. What is it about this half a tenth, 6 thousandths of a second? There's a bright smile on the face of Lena Gade here as she's watching this.
Well, it's very cool to see that they're equalised so well that they can actually fight like this, because it makes it about the drivers and how they're managing it all on track, which is great.
And also about a team performance over a 10-hour race.
Yeah.
Because small mistakes are going to cost you time, and that's going to be difficult to find.
Yeah, so over the course of the weekend, you see all aspects of every level of the team exploited to its maximum.
Correct.
Love it.
Yeah, me too. This is what endurance racing should be to me. I really like it.
Purple there for Elio Castro-Neves on a that was a cool down lap, by the way, because it was a 16.8, but he went purple in sector 3, lining up for this lap that he's on right now.
Expect to see Durrani do exactly the same. He was slow in the middle sector. Let's see if he picks up the pace. Another 18.2 from Brendon Hartley. That's a slowish lap as well.
Purple again for Castro-Neves in sector 1. He's on it.
If you can see that black and silver number 6 car, Elio Castro-Neves out on the circuit at the moment.
He'll be out the far end somewhere.
Getting through turn 7. About now, I would thought. He's just gone through it. He's on the back straight, heading down through those 2 little right-handed kinks. Over the top of the brow. How late does he brake? Answer, very late indeed. Rotates the car on the middle pedal. That was impressive from Castro-Neves. He's getting the hang of this sports car thing. And he's really finding confidence. Not that quick in the middle sector, but maybe still quick enough. Yes, quick enough at 11.3. Hearing on the team radio, Jeremy, to Elio Castro-Neves, Hartley, excuse me, Brendon Hartley, that the team are saying to him they think an 11.2 is what we're going to need for pole position.
Well, they are now, because Castro-Neves just done an 11.314. I guess you could get in the 11.3 and still make it. But
well, we've loads of room to get in there.
Exactly.
Well, from what we've seen.
0.014, you're right.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Matthias Besch improved again, 11.6 on that last lap. count to 13.
Jeremy, look, I mean, Fittipaldi back a second. Ricky Taylor back 8/10. Ollie Pla back nearly 8/10 in the Ligier. In the standard Ligier, if you will, the global car. So, quite clearly, Penske have got a handle on the Orica global chassis.
Shocking that.
Yeah. I wonder if we have to ask the question if that is a standard Orica chassis.
There's Ricky Taylor down. Well, and that's the best of the Cadillacs.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting, yeah.
Best of the Cadillacs by a distance.
Yeah.
That, you know, we've talked about the Taylor effect all year with the everybody, you know, pointing at the Cadillac. Oh, the Cadillac's too quick. Yeah, well, when Ricky is half a second and more ahead of the rest of the team, the rest of the Cadillac teams, there's clearly something to be found there. Renger van der Zande locking up the back end, trying to do an LEO and backing it on the brakes. Didn't quite get the brake pedal pressure right, and then a bit of Tokyo drift on the way out.
It's a bit of a hand.
Getting a lot of curve through on the 10-8 in the second part of that.
Wow, big armful of ball coming out of 10-8 from Van der Zande.
A good lap there from Pipo Derani, 11.5, but there's still that's a tenth of a second outside as Castro Neves brings number 6 car onto pit lane.
With 4 minutes left, that may be the end for him.
Yeah.
So is there 11.2, 13 in the pit lane, Matthias Besch, no better than 4th for Bart Hayden's team. So Orica, Gibson, Ligier, Nissan, Orica, Gibson. Then the two Ligier Gibsons, then the Dallara, the first of the Dallara Cadillacs down in 7th position. 85 into the pit lane. Misha Goikberg, no better than 8th for JDC Miller Motorsport.
No, but a good lap by Misha. His previous best was a 13.1. What's he turned now? 12.3. Okay,
Can you hear that noise, Jeremy? Can you hear that noise in just slightly in the distance for 2018? That's the sound of the bar being gradually raised by a team like Penske coming in, and this is what Yost will bring to this championship as well. Brendon Hartley has cooled his feet and his tyres a little bit.
Well, the last lap was 11.524, which was compared to a 4.99, and this lap he goes purple in sector 1 by about a half a tenth of a second.
On the back straight now, the distinctive bright green and black Tequila Patron colours. Brendon Hartley being given qualifying duties. That's confidence. Oh, smooth as silk, the tiniest lock of a brake, and he gets the power on super early. The turbo's spooling up on that GT3 motor behind him, pushes him down through the final corner. He's going to be on the front row, I think. May just displace his teammate. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
Just a couple of tenths. He got a little bit sideways, simply coming off the chicane. 10-8.
Renger van der Zande in the pit lane in the 90. Pipo Derani in the pit lane.
He's trying, is he? He's having some fun out there, is Brendon Hartley, that's for sure.
Nelson Hartley is his brother. Land speed record holder.
Well, again, though, in sector 1, he found a full tenth of a second this time.
Wow, wow, and wow. Right out over the ragged edge for Hartley. Oh, it's our Kiwi. Who says Kiwis can't fly? All 4 wheels off the ground from Brendon Hartley. That might have ruined his centre section of the lap, centre sector of the lap. But he still seems to be on it. Cuts into turn number 10. He saw that arc that he traces into the apex of turn 10 is
nice
beautiful to watch.
Though. Nice line off that corner.
Yeah. Across the line, 11.499 he has. 11.544, he's peppering that 11.5 seconds.
And how much time did he lose by being off the ground there at the exit of turn 5, I wonder?
The Continental tyres are good, but when they're not in contact with the tarmac, they can't push you forward. Under 1 minute to go.
I think he's coasting now, isn't he?
Brendon pitting at the end of this lap, the visors up. He's looking around to make sure he's not going to spoil anybody else's lap because he's a proper pro. So, Pipo Durrani, second. Brendon Hartley on the inside of the front row. And Elio Castro-Neves provisionally on pole position, and we'll confirm that in 22 seconds.
A little bit of bragging honours there for Pipo Durrani to be quicker than Brendon Hartley, who is clearly trying very, very hard.
Yes, and New Zealand. That was extraordinary, that shot. That's going to be replayed, I'm sure, over the weekend. Ollie Pla's still out there. He's not going to be happy as the checkered flag goes out at being 0.8 of a second away. And he's on the outside of row 3 at the moment. And little fist pump from Elio Castro-Neves. New challenge for Elio. And we know that he is going to the Indy 500 next year, but he will be in this paddock for the whole season. And Jim Roller has pole position for the 2017 Motul Petit Le Mans. It's Elio Castro-Neves for Team Penske.
There's Elio doing the little mosh pit jump there into the crew off the pit wall. Hugh DeShaunac coming over, giving him a big hug. Boy, Team Penske making a big statement. Yeah, exactly. The fence isn't that tall. He's gone around the back. There he is. He's getting a big hug from Simon Pagenaud. Go back over the wall. There's Tim Cindric with a big congratulations. Elio, congratulations. That's quite a statement.
Woo! Nah, no, that's not a statement. I tell you what, we're learning. And first of all, thank Team Penske for this great opportunity. And Jonathan Dugib, I mean, Jonathan was incredible. He was like, I know what you need. I know what you need. It was perfect. And Raul as well. Team Cindric, can't thank, obviously, forget about my teammates, Simon and Juan Pablo, because I had a big shunt here a week ago. And man, so bringing back that confidence, it was a little bit tough, but my guys, they were able to like coach me in and make sure that like we got it. And again, it was a great team effort. Everyone here is learning, and tomorrow we're going to continue learning. Hopefully we'll finish the same way.
Your move at the end of the back straightaway, where you backpedaled that car in with that arc with the brake, that was supreme car control. The whole lap was just amazing.
Yeah, the car was incredible. A little bit of understeer, I wasn't expecting that, but once I figured out what I needed to do, then I said, okay, that's just got to make it happen. The car was unbelievable, and took me a little while because to figure it out with the Continental tires. Obviously, I used to run the Firestone one, so I was like, okay, it's a little bit different than I'm expecting, but man, it was awesome, and the car was on rails as well. And I want to thank Orica as well, because those guys worked very, very hard, especially off the shunt that we had a week ago to put this program together. I mean, I can't thank everyone, especially Roger. So now we're going to enjoy this moment because they worked really hard over the weekend. But tomorrow is still a long way to go.
Well, congratulations, John. This is a consummate pro.
Yeah, you know the problem with Elio is he really needs to enjoy what he's doing more and show a bit more emotion. Elio Castro-Neves then, only IMSA can do this because of the unique way that they put the series together. Elio Castro-Neves leaving IndyCar as a full-time driver, coming to the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, and chasing him down at the end there, Brendon Hartley, who's about to go into IndyCar, and they meet here at Motul Petit Le Mans. Second place for Pipo Durrani. He gets the bragging rights in that Nismo Ligier ESM Tequila Patron team, Shay.
It was so close, but hey, you finished ahead of your team car. That's a little bit of bragging rights for you guys with Brendon, yeah?
Yeah, you know, it's first of all, I'd like to congratulate Elio. We have a front row of Brazilian drivers, so that's nice to put the flag up there, and congrats on your first race here with us. But yeah, it was a very, very close qualifying between everyone, so that shows that the race is going to be very difficult. It's gonna be on details, and I think our team is working flawless the whole weekend. So I hope that we can continue like that. You know, second and third is not too bad. We have a Penske car in front, and we know how good they are. but it's a 10-hour race. We hope that we can do a clean race all the way to the end. But today was a good day, and I'll take it.
He was second last year, looking to do one step better. Money's on Pippo that he can.
Well, you know, those guys have worked very hard this weekend. If they're gonna win the Motul Petit Le Mans this year, they're gonna have to beat Penske. They have arrived. It's not just about one lap though, Lena, here, and this is a rookie team in this form of motor racing. How hard is it going to be for them tomorrow to keep their concentration and get through to the end of the race?
Well, remember, they have experience from having done sports cars before, and the same kind of principle applies at IndyCar as well. So they're fully aware of what they need to be able to do, stay out of trouble, keep the averages competitive, look at where the opposition are going. I think it is a learning curve for them. They're learning new regulations, they're learning about the opposition, but at the same time, they have made a statement by coming here and taking pole. That's impressive.
That is impressive. The race tomorrow? Yeah, excited to watch the race tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely. The whole of the field. Look how close it's been all the way through. It's going to be very entertaining.
Join us tomorrow as part of the team. Thank you. Lena Gade, and from Bentley in the UK, over joining our team this weekend as a little bit of expertise, someone who talks a bit of sense in the room rather than Jeremy and I who wimble a bit. However, Jeremy, I mean, we've been giggling and laughing like naughty schoolboys about right the way through this field in the qualifying session because it's just so close, and I mean that's going to be the whole 10 hours.
Well, it is, and your chemistry is so important. And Team Penske, there's a lot of people on this program here in the sports cars who've worked together on the IndyCar side, and that's going to be really important. Elio talks about his race engineer Jonathan Duguid, who's been worked with him as his IndyCar engineer the last several years. Super important. Raul Prados, he's part of that team as well. Really good, strong effort at Team Penske. They are going to be hard to beat tomorrow.
Join us tomorrow for the 2017 Motul Petit Le Mans. Coming up on IMSA Radio next is Brian Sellers, first part of a long one that we recorded with him earlier this week on behalf of Lena Gade and Jeremy Shaw here in the booth. Jim Roller and Shea Adam, our Continental Tire pit lane reporter. Great effort from the Kiwi, airborne here, but it's Elio Castro-Neves who takes pole position and will start at the front of the field for the WeatherTech tomorrow.